In this video, I want to walk you through how theme updates work in Shopify. There's a lot that's changed over the past few years, and ever since I started attending the Shopify developer conferences in Toronto, I've learned a lot with how Shopify thinks about theme updates and the general trajectory moving forward with theme updates. First off, I want to explain how theme updates work inside of Shopify. And the first thing to note is that in the past, a new version of the theme that you have either purchased or gotten for free would be added to your store. And that new version of the theme wouldn't have any edits or custom code carried over. But Shopify recognizes that theme updates are important to stay compliant with this ever evolving world inside of e commerce. And so their words are essentially that they are trying to make all of their themes updatable in the future, but they recognize that they have a long way to go. But they've put a few things in place to make updating a theme a lot easier. The first step towards making theme updates possible and easier inside of Shopify was their introduction to app blocks. App blocks are separate blocks that could be added into any 2.0 Shopify theme. And when you update a theme, they carry over because they don't directly edit any of the theme files. The second thing that Shopify has done to make themes more updatable is if is any code that is separate from the core code that comes within a Shopify theme, that used to always be overwritten. But now when you update a theme, those files carry over. Now, again, what's really important to note is that if you touch any file that was created by the developers of that theme and you edit it, that will be overwritten when the theme is updated. But I'm really hoping that Shopify will work towards a solution to allow us to edit within some of those files, because as we all know, adding in tracking scripts or even editing the theme.liquid file is pretty much necessary for any larger Shopify store. Now, for my smaller Shopify clients, I try my absolute best to onboard them onto a beautiful paid theme, make as much customizations as I can in that theme. I'll use app blocks in their store. And now I'll even use isolated custom sections that are separate from the main core files. And typically, I leave it up to the client to update their theme. And actually, surprisingly, for the most part, this has actually worked for me over the past 6 months, which is kind of remarkable considering that a couple years ago, this wouldn't have worked at all. Now, for my larger clients, things get a lot more complicated, and I highly recommend you use GitHub to manage the two different versions of the theme. So to use GitHub to update themes, what you'll need to do is have the new version of the theme from the developers, and you want to compare that against your current theme. Now, you'll kind of have to go through one by one to figure out the differences between the two themes. But as you get familiar with GitHub, you'll slowly realize, how to merge code in together. Now, to use GitHub, if you are not a developer, the GitHub desktop version is honestly perfectly good enough to merge themes together. What I want to end off on is that where I think in a few years, updating a theme might be as simple as a click. We are definitely not at that stage yet, at least for larger stores. And so for my fellow freelancers and agencies out there, I highly recommend that you still make your clients aware of the risks of updating their theme and all that goes into making those updates, because from their eyes, they don't necessarily see all the different technical bits that you put into the store, and you'll have to kind of recreate or move over and, of course, test. And then, of course, when you scope out these projects for your clients, essentially what you're charging for is not necessarily the work behind updating the theme, but also the risk associated with updating a theme as well too. For example, once the theme is updated and something happens, the client will probably go back to you to make a change if they do require that. Moving forward throughout the rest of 2026 and also into 2027, again, I'm really excited to see what Shopify is going to do to make theme updates happen. I know that internally, at least, they want to make it work for all Shopify stores. I don't know if we will ever get there, but I'm really curious just to see how the technology evolves.